Hey guys, how's it going? You good? I'm good. Welcome back to my channel. The word of the day today is intellectual property because we're going to be diving into that very fun, sexy topic because a lot of people have been ripped off constantly throughout history in the fashion industry. I want to preface this video by saying that this rant deep dive video has been inspired by the content I found on the Diet Prada page on Instagram and the Black Femininity YouTube channel video that I found a few months ago. Yeah, I know I'm late, but this is gonna be continue happening, so this topic is still relevant. At least that's what I'm telling myself while I keep making this. So yeah, I just want to quote that, and also that the articles I use to inform what I'm telling you and the quotes I will be putting in the video, the articles I find those from will be linked in the description as usual, because unlike the companies I'm about to slam right now, I will not be accused of being a thief. As usual, I will be sectioning this video for the sake of yours and my sanity. So what is the issue? The term fast fashion refers to a clothing production chain where clothes are churned out every single week of the year, so 52 lines of fashion a year as opposed to the traditional one where it's four seasons of a year. The growing numbers in fast fashion brands and fast fashion consumers and fast fashion trends make it really difficult to keep out coming up with new innovative designs that people want to buy. So the end result is people just ripping it off and stealing designs from other people because, hey, why not? I'm gonna classify this ripping off in two tiers because if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it systematically. That is the Western way. Tier one, for example, would be a brand like ZARA stealing a design from a brand like Balenciaga, which is a lot more high fashion. So basically a knockoff version of a luxury brand's design, which is also overpriced for reasons I'm not going to get into, but that's basically it. It's not a really big deal, and I say it's not a big deal because a person who's going to be buying a Balenciaga knockoff from Zara isn't exactly the clientele that Balenciaga are expecting anyway, and they make zero loss from those types of purchases. Although they are still frowned upon, it's not really going to ding their profit, if that makes sense, unless a person is buying fake designs for the actual retail price. Then that's a problem. But also, I'm not going to be the one here shaming people for buying knockoffs because, hey, sometimes people just want to look nice. People want to wear the designer stuff without the designer prices. That's totally fine. At the end of the day, they're probably made in the same factory and we don't even know. Just make sure the knockoff isn't too obvious, you know, sometimes it's a bit embarrassing. But the real problematic stealing and ripping off of designs comes in tier two, where brands like Zara and Fashion Nova and Pretty Little Things steal from smaller creators and designers and business owners. They are really affected by this because obviously they need every single purchase they can get, every single sale they can make. Fashion Nova and them already have a pretty big turnover. I'm sure one article of clothing being missing from their line doesn't really affect their turnover. Fashion Nova particularly has a well-documented history of stealing people's designs, so much so that I even have 4 examples. So they've stolen designs from Closet Envy, Knots and Vibes, Norvana, and Destiny Blue. It is also worth noting that these designs are stolen from Black women and women of color. It's kind of backstabbing considering that Fashion Nova does cater to women of color the most, and then they're gonna steal those designs from women of color because the people who actually own the brand aren't women of color. It's just a full circle of mess. A big question I've seen around, or that I've had at some point, is just like, well, why don't these small brands just protect themselves if they know their stuff is being stolen? It's just as easy as calling somebody up and saying, they've stolen my designs, what do I do now? But it's not that simple. The reason it's so easy for these big brands to just steal designs from small designers is because intellectual property really just doesn't exist in the fashion industry. If you are a small business, like barely able to pay rent, especially in this economy, the amount of money you're gonna need to just have lawyers standing by in case something like this happens, like those big fashion houses have, you're not gonna have that sort of money at all. Like, for a lot of ambitious designers, it's a really difficult thing to even launch a design house or fashion brand or boutique in the first place, let alone having legal counsel. on hand. Also, in the event that your design is stolen, a lawsuit is extremely difficult to launch regarding clothing unless it's like a brand name or like a piece of art on an article of clothing. That's easier to protect than the actual design or like shape of the clothing. Like, good luck trying to convince a court that you invented a certain crop top when the real heirs of that geniusness are probably Megan Fox wearing her boyfriend's kids' t-shirts and some teenager in their room with a pair of scissors. Patent protection is expensive. It tends to cost thousands of dollars to achieve, and it takes a relatively long time, upwards of 1 year, to make it. So a small online boutique with like 30-ish designs on their site trying to protect all of them would take them ages, not to mention the legal fees and the stress. And it wouldn't even be covered by the articles sold later on, because by the time you finish that whole suit and whatever, your design is meaningless, it's worthless, because probably the trend has died down, because that is how fashion is nowadays. Like, you blink in 2 months and something isn't trendy anymore. The time taken to bring legal infringement actions can appear overly long and the cost too prohibitive. Particularly in many cases, the design in question will no longer be in use by the time the action is ready to be pursued. So basically, if you're not a fashion house worth billions of dollars, you're screwed. Copyright and infringement policies or whatever basically mean nothing in the fashion industry, which is bizarre considering how policed that sort of stuff is on sites like even YouTube is so heavy-handed on that stuff. It's insane. And yet not in fashion, something that is relevant to a lot more people than YouTube. But yeah, so the lack of laws is basically making it so easy for these fast fashion brands to get away with it. Even if they are gonna get away with this, even if it doesn't really impact how much they're gonna make or if people buy it, well, why don't they try and at least like cover it up? Like, why is it so obvious for them to be caught in these messes of stealing people's designs? Like, don't they cover their tracks? Do they leave a paper trail? Well, they leave the most hilarious kinds of paper trails. How they usually do these rip-offs is by directly contacting, so like their copy pasters, or as they like to call them, editors, curators, and designers, will contact a small designer on their Instagram page or whatever and be like,
"Hey babe, your design is like totally cute. Send it to this address, please."
And then a few weeks later, they'll send a message back to the designer like,
"Hey babe, thanks for the clothes, by the way. We made something totally similar, but like it's not the same thing like at all, but it was definitely inspired by you. But we're not gonna give you credit because we're assholes."
Why did I just pull the most annoying American accent ever? Then these interactions get screenshotted and weirdos like me make videos about it. But really, the only leverage that these small designers end up having is like blasting Fashion Nova in their DMs, on their comment sections, and a few other people get roped in it and get equally as outraged. But no matter how significant the outrage that comes from it may be, it's not enough to put a dent in their revenue, like, at all. So they just simply don't care, and they'll have some poor PR intern typing responses on the website like, "We're sorry, babe. Sorry that that happened to you, but keep shopping with us." So if nothing happens from it, you might be wondering, well, what's the point? What's the point in even complaining? What's the point in me even making this video if it's not gonna do anything? Well, some countries actually do value copyright protections and intellectual property in the fashion industry. France enjoys the most extensive and long-standing legal rights in connection with fashion designs. The country's copyright system provides protection for garments and accessories, and the same type of protection also applies to Italian designers. And this makes sense considering a lot of large, well-known fashion houses exist in Europe. The hope, at least my hope at some point, is that this treatment of intellectual property in those countries extends to other countries and extends to smaller designers and is more accessible over time to protect the rights of those small businesses. But of course we know how capitalism works, so maybe not anytime soon, but it's still a hope. It's still a candle I have lit somewhere in my mind. If you are a small designer who is watching this and thinking, or you are in the process of trying to open your own fashion brand and you're thinking about it and you're thinking, this video is making me have second thoughts. Well, no. There are still plenty of small businesses that exist that are still making their coin, that are still making these nice designs, and there are niche groups of people that appreciate them, that purchase from them, and The only thing I can advise you to do from a completely non-legal, legally binding standpoint, I am not a lawyer, but the most I can say is probably just to protect what you can protect. So any art you use on your t-shirts or your brand name, the most important is the brand name, because the last thing you need is someone stealing that. I mean, I think Fashion Nova are pretty set on their name so far, so you can rest easy on that one. If you are a regular consumer like me, then maybe before you think of making a big purchase, or if you are a regular purchaser, you need to buy something, think of small businesses first. You know, they need the money more than the big brands do. Anyways, if you've reached the end of this video and you've been watching this whole time, thank you for watching. Please comment below what you think about all this, whether you think it's fair on small businesses. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. If you have, thank you, and have a nice day. I will see you next time. Okay, I put this ring on the wrong finger and I have to deal with trying to take this off now, but please.